Hello, my name is Vaughn Coleman, and I am a comic book writer. I'm a filmmaker and an editor. So I haven't published any written comics as of me recording this, but I've written some stuff, and so I like to pay a lot of attention to the indie scene, especially because I've worked in it as an editor and continue to. Um, and when something really catches my eye, and when something's really great, I just want to talk about it. And not only am I a writer, an editor and a filmmaker, I am also now a fan of Inglorious Rex, which is a new IP. It's Inglorious Rex Monster Martial Arts, which is, I mean, that's a great title. And look at this cover. This cover is amazing. I even like the logo on the back, Nine Lives Comics. This is a comic book by Shane Davis, who previously worked at DC, did Superman Earth One, Metal Men, I believe, and I think he did some of Batman Under the Red Hood, or is the comic version Under the Hood? The comic might be Under the Hood. I've seen the movie a million times. The comic I still need to read, but I believe he did part of that. I know Doug Mankey was the main artist. Anyway, I personally don't think I've read any of Shane's work at the big two, but now I really want to. But even more so, I want to read more of his independent work. Why? Because this book is fantastic. The art is great. Him and his wife, Yanzi Lin, I hope I pronounced that right, did this book. And it's incredible. Now, not only did they do the art, but they wrote it together. So basically, Inglorious Rex is set in like some almost like cyberpunk world, which I love cyberpunk. And it's like there's these monster MMA fights. It's kind of like they pilot these organic monsters. Everyone has their own, and they fight in a cage. And there's more to it going on. There's a lot of great world building and a lot of setup for what's to come. But the story is also very self-contained. I'll get into that. But basically, it's like they fight in the ring for sport. And I mean, that's just a great concept in general, seeing these people pilot monster fights. It's just really cool. And it's executed very well. The characters each are distinct from one another in terms of their not just their characterization, but their designs. The same goes for the monsters. You could tell that they just had so much fun designing these monsters. And I mean, again, dude, this cover, it feels like a movie poster. And this comic also feels very cinematic. This could easily be a movie. Imagine like an upscaled Rocky, where it's like this underdog, right, trying to take on these this bigger threat. It really felt like Rocky, but scaled up, and I loved that. But it's also very personal. The story is very personal, and I like that a lot. So the art is great, but how's Shane Davis as a writer? Shane is a very good writer. I did not like there's a lot of artists that either aren't the best writers or there's a lot of writers that aren't the best artists. Not everyone can be like a John Byrne or what have you. But Shane has that potential. He and Yanzi Lin, because they wrote it together, I believe. Let me just double check that, but I believe they did. Yes, they wrote it together. They're fantastic writers. They're fantastic writers. This is very solid. I really cared for the characters. Each page is utilized well. It's the kind of indie comic where I look at my writing and I'm like, dude, what am I doing, man? But it's in an inspiring way. It like makes me want to be better. It makes me want to try harder, and because each page is well utilized. There are things I wish were in there. Like, for example, it's not, and this is kind of a big thing, is that it's kind of hard to tell, at least visually for me, where the pilots are for, at least to start with, in terms of where they are on the beasts, or what are they called? The Rexes. It's really hard for me to figure out, like, okay, so they're on it. Are they hanging on to the back, or whether there's a deal? Because they're doing moves like this. So that could have been made a little clearer. But that's really my biggest criticism. Otherwise, love it. The training montage is great and interesting. What I really like about it is they do a great job of setting up Alex Stone, right? That's the main character, is such an underdog. But he has a very strong reason to fight. What Shane and Nyanzi do great is that they set this guy up to lose, but to fight passionately. Kind of like Rocky again, but it's like he has a very personal stake in this fight, and the odds are so stacked against him that it's like there's no way he can win. And I know, like, there's a lot of stories in general where the hero, it's like, they're just going to win in the end. But this one, you really feel like he could lose, and he probably should, even despite all of the training. And I won't spoil how they go about it, because I was wondering, are they going to pull some bullshit? And the way they go about it is so creative. and I was not expecting it. And it's cool that the way they kind of unveil certain rules about the fighting as they go on, but it never feels like you're just playing catch up. I definitely there's a few. Actually wish there were more in some areas, like more pages. But overall, I mean, I really liked it. I really like I said, every page is well utilized, and not a part where I'm like, why is that here? We can cut that. No, you could tell this was like very. You could tell it was written by an artist in the sense that how well it's laid out, but you could also just tell it was like that they put a lot of time into this script, like not just the story, because there's a lot of stuff where it's just a story and then there's characters that are come and go and like don't have any meaning. That's not the case with this. Everything has a meaning, everything drives the plot forward, and it ends on a note where you want to see more. This really feels like part one of something great, and this is a great IP, as in intellectual property for those uninitiated. And it's an original idea, and I could see it becoming an instant classic. I really can. This is a fantastic story. It's a must read. The characters are great. I love anatomic, even characters that don't have huge roles. I know they're going to do some great things in the future. I mean, this is such a good book. And there's also a supplemental indie. It is an indie because it's part of it. There's a supplemental book that's by different artists, but they wrote it as well. It has 2 short stories. One of them is in black and white, and it's centered around anatomic, and another is centered around a different character. So you get to see more of the world through the eyes of different characters, and I actually like that. Again, is this essential reading? No. Should you read it? Yes. Should you read it? Yes. Yeah. I mean, I like it a lot. These short little stories that are offshoots. This is what a supplemental book really should be. And then you have the main book, which tells you everything you need to know. So the second book, I had intended to get this review out earlier, but the second book is going to be on Indiegogo. For as of me recording this, only a couple more hours. So if you haven't already, make sure to back the book. I backed the first one and I backed the second one. I think this is one that's going to go up in value as the years go on. I would love to see this as a movie. Like I said, this one is very cinematic. It really, imagine like a monster kind of Rocky movie with cyberpunk elements. I mean, just talking about it, dude, it's so good. This is a great, great book, and I highly recommend everyone check it out. Make sure you find it on Indiegogo. If by the time you're watching it, it's not available, or if you're not able to back right now, I don't know. Just keep up with Shane, I guess. Because that's the thing about indie comics, right? They're not necessarily always going to be in stores, though I'd love to see this one in stores. I think it would sell great in stores. But yeah, just keep up with him, I guess. I don't know how you would reach out to him. But this is a great book. I highly recommend checking it out, guys. It's an instant classic. Seriously, I think this could be an instant classic. Hearing Shane's talked about it a few times, the way that it's very self-contained. And then but it has the building blocks for volume 2. It ends on a note where you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen in volume 2? And I'm getting excited. Like, I'm actually a fan now. This is a great book.